Welcome to Medicine in Our Backyard. We're happy to have you here tonight. So I am Adrienne Windsor. I'm a member of the board of the Newport Beach Library Foundation, and this is a program that is sponsored by the foundation in conjunction with UCI Health. We started it more than 10 years ago. And we have had the sponsorship of UCI Health and of Mike and Polly Smith ever since that time. And Mike and Polly's daughter, Jan, is here tonight. Jan, would you raise your hand? Where are you? Where'd she go? Oh, she's over there. Thanks for being here, and thanks for being such a steadfast supporter. So, a quick bit about us. The Library Foundation is a membership foundation. How many of you are members? Oh, that's pretty good. Now, if you're not, we would love for you to join. We are a very busy foundation. We do so many things. We have a plethora of programs. We have the Witty Lecture Series, the Library Live Lecture Series, this Medicine in Our Backyard, the book discussion group. We have sponsored the media lab that we have. If you wanted to, you could go in there and you could do an audio version of a book if you've written one, which is kind of extraordinary. So many things that we provided, and just recently the foundation bought tech toys for the children's library, and they are all checked out with an enormous waiting list. So that's where the future's going, I guess, maybe into tech toys. So if you're not a member, become a member. The foundation has raised half the money to build this new Witty Lecture Hall that you see there in the corner. It's going to be a wonderful contribution to this community. They're saying it will be a competitor with Seagram and Barclay, and we will have free parking. So that'll be beneficial. All right, so tonight this will conclude with Q&A. So save your questions to the end. I'll be coming around with a microphone. And when you ask your questions, attempt to make them generic because it is being videotaped, and the video will be available on our website. So you can send other friends to see it, or you can review it again yourself. If you haven't turned off your cell phones, would you please do that? Thank you. All right, so now I'm happy to introduce Dr. Gary E. Deng, who is our speaker tonight. He and his family have just moved here, and they love it. He was telling me how excited they are about the library, and they have two children. One of them is 3 years old and is loving the children's library. Probably will be checking out our tech toys soon. He's a physician and director of Integrative Oncology for the UCI Health Chao Family Comprehensive Cancer Center and the Susan Samueli Integrative Health Institute. He specializes in whole person integrative approach to supporting patients with cancer, approach through all phases of treatment, survivorship, and prevention. He earned his medical degree from Beijing Medical University, followed by a residency in internal medicine at the University of Texas Health Center in Houston, where he received research training at MD Anderson Cancer Center. He also holds a PhD in microbiology and immunology from the University of Miami in Florida. I'm always just amazed at the list of credentials our speakers bring to us. We are so privileged. So he is a past president and a member of the Society for Integrative Oncology, and he is author of a 2022 book, The Wellness Principles, Cooking for a Healthy Life. He's promised me he'll tell us a little bit about this cookbook tonight, too. It might lead us in the right direction. So our subject tonight is, what else can I do? Integrative whole person cancer care. Please join me in welcoming Dr. Deng.
Thank you, Adrian. I was told I may expect a smaller audience size today because of incremental weather. So I said, well, what incremental weather? Is it going to be a snowstorm? Because in New York City, where I came from, that's what they mean, right? The school's closed, there's a 1 foot snowfall, and then they say, well, it may rain tonight. So that's the incremental weather you're talking about. So I thank you for coming, and I'm so happy to share this evening with you. And it's a beautiful California, and we just moved 4 months ago, and we all love it here. So we don't have to deal with the snowstorm anymore. Why do I come? I work at Sloan Kettering Cancer Center in New York City, one of the huge cancer centers. Why did I come to UCI Health? Because I think there's something very exciting going on here. Very forward-looking, in my opinion, may change the healthcare, which is the emphasis on treating patients as a whole person. We call it whole person care. So that's the topic I'm going to talk about today. And I started with oncology, but what I talk about actually applies to health in general, not just cancer care, but also cardiovascular, neurological, memory, everything. So when we think about cancer or cancer treatment, what comes to mind? Surgery, cut it out, radiation, zap it, chemotherapy, soak it. So they're all on treating the cancer cells. And they're powerful tools, but there are two things are missing here. One is you're treating cancer cells. We also need to treat cancer patients at the whole person level, not just on the cellular, molecular level, right? But as a human being, as a person. The other one is, even though surgery, radiation, chemo are powerful tools in treating cancer, there's another very big force that's being underutilized, which is the patient themselves. The patients actually can contribute to their own treatment, and they have a lot of force in them. And our job is to discover those forces, harness them, and put them to good use and to best use. So you basically treat patients from the help you get from the outside, from the doctors and healthcare system, also from the inside, mobilize what you have. And I'll talk about how we can do that. So we can start with a very common case. This is a breast cancer survivor. We probably know these people around us, family, friends, colleagues. And after the initial treatment, she's cancer-free, but she was put on a hormone blocker to block estrogen, because that estrogen fuels the growth of breast cancer cells. When you block estrogen, their chance of recurrence is less. And so it helps her reduce recurrence because she is at risk for recurrence. And that's something she always worries about. On the other hand, this drug, either letrozole or nasoxol or exemestane, they cause a lot of side effects. And the most common one would be hot flushes, joint pain, achiness, and so on. I had a patient a few weeks ago. She was in this situation. She's miserable, so we tried to say, why? She said, I don't want to take this drug anymore. I want to come off it. I said, why? She said, my passion in life is playing golf. That's the only thing that makes me happy. And now with all the joint stiffness and so on, I cannot play that. So even if the drug prevent cancer from coming back, but if I don't play golf, I don't have fun in life, what's the point? So what do we do for these patients, right? If you joint pain, and also they sometimes have abdominal bloating, they have worries, they constantly worry about cancer coming back, and that worry keep people from having good sleep. If you don't sleep well, you're tired all day long. So you can see there's a cascade of these problems. So normally, the traditional way of practicing medicine is, you have a problem, I have a drug, right? You're fatigued, I give you Ritalin. Or if you have hot flushes, I give you estrogen replacement. But in this patient, you cannot, because she has breast cancer. if you give them estrogen, it fuels the breast cancer growth. So you give them antidepressant effects. And you have joint pain, you can take Tylenol or ibuprofen, Advil. But those drugs, if you take every day, because she has joint pain every day, if you take it every day, it hurts your stomach, hurts your liver, hurts your kidney. So you can see constipation will give you Miralax, but then you eventually become dependent on Miralax. So soon enough, this patient will be on 10 additional medications, and each one will give her their own side effects. So you can see it's just going to be snowballing into something very hard to manage and compromise the patient's quality of life. So is there a better way? Is there another way of dealing with this? The answer is yes. That's what we do from integrative oncology, integrative health, or whole person health, is to change people's lifestyle. There are all these little things you can do day in, day out, every day, that will make your body strong, make your mind strong, and make your body's ability to conquer this adversity stronger. And sometimes a lot of the problem you experience actually can be reduced. So why do we want to do that? Because 50 years ago, cancer is almost like a death sentence, right? But nowadays, cancer is very treatable. Even you have stage 4 metastatic cancer, people can live 10, even 20 years. So cancer has increasingly become a chronic disease, just like diabetes, high blood pressure. So of course, there are some cancers very difficult to treat, but most cancers are actually very treatable. As people's lifespan expand, cancer become a chronic disease. The quality of life is becoming equally important than quantity of life. Otherwise, you live for several years, but these are miserable years. What's the point, right? So we need to improve people's quality of life while having cancer or right after cancer treatment. But you cannot just keep giving people drugs because, as I mentioned, they have their own problems. So we have to try these non-drug, non-pharmaceutical agents. So that's one reason we need to try something else that is not drug-based to make cancer patients feel better and do better. Secondly, in the past, we always understand cancer as a genetic mutation, right? You have a mutation, the normal cells become cancerous. They grow out of control, they start to spread, metastases. But in the last 10 years or so, we now know cancer cells do not live in isolation, and they live in the ecosystem, which is our body, and our body is under control of our mind. So previous cancer treatment, be it surgery, radiation, or chemotherapy, they all attack the cancer cells. But the newer generation of cancer treatment, immunotherapy, anti-angiogenesis, some of the target therapy, they actually don't attack the cancer cells per se. They change the environment of the cancer cells where they live. They mobilize your immune system to attack them. They cut off the blood supply to the tumor cells to make them shrink. So you can see now we're treating cancer more in the context of their microenvironment and the macroenvironment, right? This is, for some people, this is a new concept. We always think, oh, kill the cancer cells, remove it. Actually, what you can do to the rest of your body can influence how the cancer cells behave. And the body is under the control of our mind. When you're depressed, when you worry, it actually not only compromise your mental health, but your physical health. We all have this experience ourselves. And then we're human beings, we have spiritual needs, and then their social environment, our families, they all influence how we feel, how we do as a patient. And the society in general, and even the physical environment can influence. So you can see, now we treat cancer in the context of a microenvironment, which is the tissue around them, the metabolism, the nutrition, the nutrients, the immune cells, and so on, and the macroenvironment, which is what's going on in this patient's life. So I call it treating cancer in the context of the patient as a whole person, and treating that person in the context of their life. What gives them aspiration? What's their life priority? What brings meaning to them? What's important to them? We have to consider all these factors when we treat patients. So how do you measure that? There's actually a so-called Whole Person Health Index that's developed by the National Institute of Health. I think in the next national census survey, they are actually going to, a health survey nationwide, they're going to ask these questions. So you may get it in the next few years, you may get these questions. So now I give you a sneak peek. So they're not just asking, what's your pain score from 0 to 10, right? Or what's your weight, or what's your height, or your blood pressure. They're saying, what do you say of your health in general? Is it excellent, good, or fair, or poor? And then, how would you rate your quality of life? And here's the most important part. Focusing on what matters most to you. In the past, it's just, what's your quality of life? Oh, 0 to 10. Mine is 5. But here's what matters most to you. So this is putting the patient back into healthcare. It's a patient-centered question. And because this question for different people means different things. For one is, I want to live as long as possible, even though the treatment is very harsh on me, I can endure that. The other one said, no, my value system is I want to live good life, even though my life is shorter, I want every day to be full of fun and energy. So this is what we mean by what matters to you as a person. And then how would you rate your social and family connections, right? So in the past, when we in medicine, how much do we ask people, what's going on in your relationship, your work? Do you have a toxic colleague that's getting on you every day? Or how about your kids? Do you have close relationship with them? So these actually have a tremendous influence on our own health, our social environment. And then diet, exercise, physical activity. How do we manage stress? And how do you sleep? Sleep is becoming, it used to be an underappreciated part of our health. If you don't have time to do things, right? Tomorrow you have a deadline, you haven't finished, what do? You stay up all night, get it done, finish it. And tomorrow you have another deadline, the day after tomorrow, you do that again. So soon enough, you become sleep deprived. And there are research at UCI, they studied the sleep cycle, the circadian rhythm and sleep, and they found the cancer cells, their circadian cycle is all messed up. So when the circadian cycle messed up, those are cancer cells. The normal cells, they have ups and downs. In the morning, they're excited. At night, they're relaxed. And then that's what's interesting is they also found if certain immune therapy works better if you give it in the morning than in the evening. Because the immune cells are more active in the morning. When they look at under the microscope in the tissue, the cancer cells, in the morning, there are more immune cells there attacking cancer. In the evening, they are not. So for people who stay up all night or get messed up circadian rhythm, their body's immune system is weakened, right? They don't help the immunotherapy anymore. So you can see these things were probably new to the general public, because only emerging now. There's a professor, Dr. Mastery at UCI, she just studied this, and her paper was published on some of the top journals. So that's why I said, well, there's so many exciting things going on in UCI, and then when I come here, I can collaborate with these colleagues, and we can discover something new, develop new treatment, and change the way we manage health and we manage cancer care. So sleep and meaning and purpose. We have a lot of patients with depression. They just feel like there's nothing I want to do. Even though they know they need to eat well, they need to exercise, they need to take good care of themselves, they need to take medicine on time, they just lose the will. You cannot just give everyone an antidepressant, right? Because it has its own problem. But there are ways to help them. And the last part, you may think is an empty question. Your ability to manage your health is actually focusing on patient empowerment. Do you feel you're empowered, you're confident, you have control of your own health? A lot of time people, especially cancer patients, they feel like they are disempowered. I go to the clinic, I get IV chemo, I got radiation, everything's done to me. I feel so vulnerable, helpless, and they don't feel the power in them. And we want to empower patients, give them the tools to do something about it. So this is what we mean, your ability to manage your health. So this is what we mean by whole person cancer care. We treat cancer in the context of the patient and the patient within the context of their life. Then how do we do that? Anyone recognize this building? Any volunteers? Oh, you haven't gone to the library, borrowed the related books. It's on one of those books. Yeah, so this is a Roman temple in the city in South France, Nîmes, N-I-M-E-S. It used to be part of the Roman Empire, right? So this is the best preserved Roman temple in the world. You go to Rome, everything was in ruin. You go to Greek, everything was crumbling. But this one is standing just like that 2,000 years ago. And I was impressed. Actually, that city, have you been there, that city, Nîmes? It's such an elegant city. You need to go there. It's not a touristy place. So there's not a lot of tourism. This is where the jean came from. Jean called denim. Denim means denim, which means that kind of fabric was initially invented and fabricated in that city in France. So that's why we call the jean denim, right? So it's from that city. So I asked the local people, he said, why is everywhere else crumbling? They also have a great Colosseum. It's smaller arena, but very well preserved, like really oval shaped, everything is there. So they said, well, we take good care of it. We don't take stones from them. In Rome, the residents take the stone away from the ancient building. They are high quality stones. They build their own house with that. Here, we don't do that. If the little thing's broken, we fix it before it become a big problem. So that's why it lasted 2,000 years in great shape. So I think, wow, that's great. That's what we should do to our own body, to our own health. Don't do anything to undermine it. You're chipping away your health by the little things you do. One day you take a big bucket of ice cream, next day you stay up at 2 o'clock in the morning, and the third day you stress out over some minor little thing that 1 week later nobody remember. So these are all little pieces that we do every day to compromise our health. Instead, we do everything, every moment, every day to strengthen our health. We live in a very mindful way. We call it mindful living. Everything we do, we're mindful. Is it good for me? Is it worth it? Or is just because I'm doing it because of habit, or because everyone else is doing it, or because someone told me to, ask me, or want me to do it. So that kind of mindfulness will put our mind in the right place. Then you just pay a little attention to every little things. Then your body will be at the optimal shape, the strongest it can, right? We all have we all handed a different hand of cards, so our genetics are different. Some are just very fortunate, very strong. Some are not so fortunate. But whatever card we have, we want to make the most out of it. We want to make it stronger. So the temple stands because the 6 strong pillars. I call it 6 pillars for good health, which are nutrition, exercise, stress management, sleep, circadian rhythm, relationships, social relations, social environment, and meaning and joy and laughter in life. Things that are positive elements in our life. So every day right now, just think about your own life. Am I strong in all 4 or 6 pillars? Which one is weak that I can do something to strengthen it? So when patients come to our clinic, we ask them all of this. So normally you go to a clinic, the doctor may not ask you this, but in our UCI Integrative Oncology clinic, we ask them. So basically we take a pulse of the patient, but we're not taking their literal pulse, the blood pressure pulse, we're taking a pulse of their life. A lot of people, they know what to do with nutrition, exercise, right? Because that's public knowledge, a lot of people know. Well, I found most people have problem with stress management and sleep. A lot of people, they actually don't sleep well. They have a hard time fall asleep, staying asleep. They rely on sleeping pills, or they wake up 3 o'clock in the morning, unable to go back to sleep. Another one is a relationship. When you probe a little deeper, some people just trapped in some, as I mentioned earlier, a toxic boss, or a colleague who's not very supportive. So sometimes you have to reassess your relationships and say which one's worth cultivating, which one sometimes you just have to like build a wall so you don't take in the toxicity. And then the meaning and positive things, a lot of our cancer patients, they're so fixed on fixing something wrong, right? Cancer is something that went wrong. We want to fix what went wrong. So they're always in the like fighting mode or fearful mode, or don't do this, don't do that. And they forgot they need to balance that with promoting something that is right. So you fix something wrong, that's not enough. Promote something that's right. I call it troubleshooting paired with success shooting. So what went wrong? What's giving you strength? What brings you happiness, your hobby, talk with your loved one? Don't forget to do that every day. I said, take a vacation every day, not at the end of the year. Take a 1 hour vacation every day where the whole world disappears. Everything else, it's almost like you're in a remote island, beautiful place. You just do things that you love, that nurture your mind, your soul, your body, and immerse in that and appreciate what today has for you. So don't forget that. So oftentimes cancer patients forgot because they're always in fighting cancer, but you have to also introduce the positive part. So the 6 pillars for good health: nutrition, diet, exercise, stress management, sleep, circadian rhythm, social environment, positive elements in life. So when we go home, maybe tonight, you just think about which part I can make some improvement, which part I'm strong and I should keep it strong. So the first one, nutrition. We all know what good food we should eat, right? But I'll just summarize. There's several principles. Often people ask me, what's the best food to eat? I say, no, there's not a single best food. It's a system. It's a principle of a way of eating. Also, they said, what should I eat? What should I not eat? I said, I never say, eat this, don't eat that. It's always eat more of this, less of that. For example, sugar, right? So a lot of cancer patients are fearful of sugar. They think on the internet, they say sugar feeds cancer, which is not accurate, because everyone, even though you don't eat anything, your body will make sugar, and your other cells need sugar as well. But too much sugar is bad, right? Too much sugar triggers insulin, IGF, all these growth factors, not good. So we always ask how important sugar is to you. If you say, well, I don't care, then don't eat it. If it's a big part of my life, big part of my enjoyment of the food of the day, we'll say, well, first of all, eat less. A teaspoon of sugar in your coffee, no big deal. A little piece of dark chocolate, no big deal. If you eat a big donuts every morning, that is a big deal, right? It's not good. So first of all, eat less. Secondly, eat sugary food at the end of the meal with a full stomach, so the sugar doesn't get absorbed right away. We actually do this experiment. Any one of you wear a CGM, continuous glucose monitor? It's a little tag you put on your arm. It just monitor your sugar level minutes by minute. You gave the same meal to a person. If they eat the carbohydrate first and eat the protein and the vegetable next, the sugar goes up like that. If they eat the protein or the vegetable, the salad and the vegetable and the protein first, then eat the carbs like bread, pasta, rice, potato, the sugar, instead of going up like that, will go more like that, because the other food delays the rapid absorption of glucose, of sugar coming from the carbs. This way, you're still eating the same thing. Just by changing how you eat, you reduce the damage to your body. So that's one example. It's always dose dependent, and it's not only what you eat, but also how you eat. Another, if you look at all the dietary research related to health, the diet, if you read the news, it's changed every year, right? So Atkins diet, Mediterranean diet, ketogenic diet, Gerson's diet. But if you look at all the data, evidence-based, there's something they share in common. It's the common denominator, which in a way, I will call it a low-carb Mediterranean pescatarian kind of diet, right? Think about the think about the southern Italy or Greece. So number one, freshness. Right? You go there, they are very picky about the food. If you go to Italy, sometimes you go to a restaurant, where's the menu? Well, we don't have a menu. It depends on what's in the market this morning. I'll cook it for you because that's the freshest you can get. So freshness, raw ingredient, high quality ingredient. The tomato there tastes like tomato, not the greenhouse tomato looks like tomato but doesn't taste like tomato. So get high quality ingredient first. Try not to eat processed food, especially ultra processed food, right? That things, you look at the label, there are like 20 ingredients. So usually if it's more than 3 ingredients, it start to get processed. And you look at it, did they come from the factory or did they come from the field, from a farm? So think about that. Real food, fresh food, less processed food. And then when you cook, try to use gentle cooking. And because there are studies, research, when you barbecue meat, when you deep fry food, some particularly carcinogenic chemicals are generated. You can go to National Cancer Institute and look up, you can just search meat cooked at high temperature, and they will tell you which compounds are generated in that process. Those are carcinogenic, they cause mutations. So, but people love this kind of food, right? Or grilled, open flame. Occasionally, no big deal. 4th of July, have a cookout, no big deal. But if you eat it day in, day out, you do accumulate a lot of these harmful material. They're almost like cigarette smoking, because cigarette is also burned organic matters. It generates the same stuff. So if you smoke one cigarette once a year, once a month, maybe not a big deal. But if you smoke a pack a day, then it's a problem. So when you talk about diet, we're talking about the regular average diet. An outlier occasionally, almost anything is okay. So don't make diet such a strict thing that I will have patients, I cannot eat this, I cannot eat that, I cannot eat this. Then there's nothing left to eat. And that anxiety, that worry, I'm not eating the right food, actually is more toxic than whatever is in that food, right? So there's physical toxin you take by mouth. There are also mental toxin you absorb through thinking or through your ears and eyes. And we want to avoid both. So those are the principles. And the next principle is actually the proportion and portion. So when we ask patients, do you eat vegetables? Yeah, I eat vegetables. What do you eat? Oh, I go to KFC, I eat this side order of coleslaw. That's not vegetable. So first of all, you want half of your plate vegetables. So it should be half of the content of your meal. Secondly, you want them to be colorful. Green pepper, green spinach, yellow squash, orange carrots, red tomato, purple cabbage. So you want a rainbow color. So if you look at a plate, half it is like rainbow color veggies. And then the other half, you cut it in half. A quarter carbohydrate, but they should be dark in carb, which means whole wheat bread, quinoa, brown rice, instead of white bread, white rice, white potato. So carbohydrate, a quarter of your plate. What's a quarter? It's about the size of your fist. So if you think about, you go to a restaurant, if you eat carbs, this much. It's a little bit bigger than a dinner roll. If you eat rice, a small bowl. So 2 to 1 vegetable to carbs, and protein also 1. So 2 to 1 to 1. Proteins you want light in color, like egg white, fish, seafood, beans and nuts, right? They're kind of whitish in color. Those are better than chicken, turkey, better than red meat. Red meat is very pro-inflammatory. There's a link between eating too much red meat with all kinds of diseases because it creates a lot of inflammation in your body. So now you imagine tomorrow morning or tomorrow lunch, you look at your plate, is a half vegetable, colorful vegetables, a quarter carbs, a quarter dark carbs, a quarter of the plate light colored protein. So that will be what we consider balanced, healthy diet. So I always tell people this, then the people say, well, yeah, that's all nice, but how do I do it? So I'm a home cook myself. So I cook for my family. So I said, well, there has to be a way to make it fast, right? Because we don't have that much time. make it simple, so approachable. Everyone should be able to do it, and then make it healthy. And the last one, make it tasty, because I'm a very picky eater. I'm a foodie, but so I have to make it also tasty. So that's why when people say I need a recipe, I look around the bookstore. I don't see one that's really what I have in mind, so I end up writing one. So this is what I called my pandemic baby. During the pandemic, we're working from home, so every morning I get up at 4 to 7 p.m. and just write this. So that's the book you mentioned. So give you very specific tools to do that. It's called the wellness principle, and I also talk about how to generate flavor. Especially when you eat something healthy, sometimes people have the misconception healthy food are boring, they're not tasty. But there is a way to generate this taste, how to generate umami from like tomato, mushrooms, and fermented food, and how to cook it in a way you generate. There's a cooking process you can generate that kind of flavor. So that's a diet. I think most of us know a lot about diet already. It's just to implement it. So we want to give people the tools to implement that. And part of the diet is actually dietary supplements, which are herbs and supplements that you can get from the open market. This is a mixed bag. Some can be helpful and also safe, and there are lots of research showing it can be helpful, and we do use them. Others can be harmful. They either interact with the medications, or they have their own side effects, or because they are not regulated, sometimes the manufacturer, if you run into a bad manufacturer, sometimes they change the ingredient without telling you what's in there. Most of the supplements, they fall somewhere in between, right? They probably don't hurt you, but they are not helping either because the dose you're taking is too small. I've seen some supplements, patients say, oh, I take this it's green tea, it helps my it's antioxidants, help prevent disease. And I look at the ingredient, it's 25 milligram of green tea extract. That's like this much. It doesn't do anything. So I'll tell you one of the skill when you buy dietary supplements is actually know how to read the label. So I'll tell you a few tricks. So don't read the face, the front. The name is always beautiful, always great, right? Live forever or whatever, or optimal health or something. But read the back, there is a black box listing the actual ingredient, which is the substance. And you look at the left side with the name of substance, but more importantly, the right side, which is a dosage. If something is like 1 microgram, 10 microgram, it's there just for the show. At that dose, it has no activity, no real activity in human body. So you look at the one with the highest amount, usually something like 1,000 milligram or 500 milligram. And that's what this supplement is about. Everything else, those are minor players. They're just there for the appearance. So you focus on that ingredient, and then you focus on the dosage. So we do at the Samueli Institute. We have NDs, naturopathic doctors, and life coach to help patients sort out which supplements may be helpful, which one may not be so good, which one may bring risk to them. So that's another thing. Some professional help will be helpful, because if you just read the commercial, everything is great, right? They always make you want to take everything. So dietary supplements is another part we have to be careful about. And exercise and physical activities, we're all very active, right? Because this is Southern California. I bike to work. I bike to work every day. 1 mile office, I bike 15 minutes out and 20 minutes back. I go to the cancer center, 20 minutes out, I bike 30 minutes back, because it's going uphill when you go back. So it takes longer. It's not because I'm so tired from the work in the day, so I pedal slowly. So when I come off work, I'm biking home, the sun is shining, it's 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock, shining this way. Everything is just so beautiful. I said, it would be such a waste if you don't bike or you don't do outdoor here, because the weather is perfect, temperature is never too hot, never too cold, always dry, never sweaty. And go out and walk and bike and do whatever you need to do instead of running on the treadmill in the gym, right? You got such a beautiful, blessed with such a beautiful environment. So try to make an effort, go out there, do real natural exercise. Move naturally, not some artificial things, right? And there are people who study exercise. What's the most important ingredient in exercise? Like food, right? There's the good ingredient, the color and the conservative vegetable. So in exercise, what's the number one ingredient? You like it? Yeah. Regularity, that's it. So they found frequency is more important than intensity or modality. So if you do a little bit every day, it's much better than do a lot in the weekend and nothing during the week. And to do a little bit every day, you have to like it, right? If you don't like it, it's boring, you won't do it every day. So people ask me, what's the best exercise you do? As I always say, the one you can do every day. And I usually recommend just walking because you have no excuse not to walk. If I say running, my knee hurts, or I don't have access to a gym. Swimming is great, but I don't have access to a swimming pool. But everyone has access to walking. Here is not an issue. You can walk all the time, every day. In New York City, I can't walk. It's raining, or it's too cold. It's too hot. It's snow. It's slippery. I said that's why we have umbrella. We have jacket, put them on and go out and walk. Don't make weather an excuse for you not to exercise. So first, frequency. The second one is actually intensity. So if you just do gentle walk, it helps you. It's better than nothing, but it's not enough. You need to get your heart rate up to a little bit. You feel a little bit warm. You're panting a little bit. I think for a regular person, we're talking about heart rate 110, 120, that range. So moderate exertion. That's where you hit the sweet spot, where you triggers aerobic exercise. And the third factor is modality. Actually, there are people who study this. Is playing basketball better than swimming, or is running better than, is jogging better than walking? So a lot of studies was done in Europe because they have this national database, right? Everyone is in their database. There's a Denmark study. They look at people's association between what sports they do and how long they live. Can you guess which sports has the associated with the longest improvement in lifespan? Tennis. You must have read that paper. Yes. You love tennis, I suppose. Yeah. Then start doing it. Or pickleball. So they found racket sports is the best. On average, extend your life by 9 years. Swimming is good, like 5 to 7 years. Swimming, jogging, those are like 5 and 7 years. If you're sedentary, you're like the baseline, right? If you play racquetball regularly, you live 10 years longer. Those people live 10 years longer than the people who are very sedentary. So initially I thought, how could that be? I always thought swimming is the best because you exercise the upper body, lower body is aerobic and resistance. If you're just jogging, it's just aerobic, it's just lower extremity. And then I realized it actually makes sense because in racquetball, you're constantly changing direction. And you go this way, you go that way. So your heart rate goes up and down. And also, every time you take a step, change direction, it actually strengthens your bone. If you have osteoporosis, this movement put pressure on your bone and make it stronger. And the other component is racquetball. It's a social game. You play with usually your friend, your best friend. So remember I mentioned the social environment, spending time with friends is a very important ingredient in our health. And racquetball combine this. If you're running, usually you just run alone, right? You can, if you're swimming, usually you swim alone. But racket sports, you're actually playing with friends. So that's very important. So nowadays, tennis has a very high bar requirement of the space and the skill and strength. But pickleball is really low entry, so I encourage everyone to do that. Maybe I shouldn't, because then you cannot reserve pickleball course anymore because everyone's doing that. But try to keep that in mind. So exercise, as I mentioned in that Denmark study, when they compare people who exercise versus those who don't, you can gain almost like 9 years lifespan. And if I sell you a drug, I say, take this and you live 9 years longer, You're going to pay a lot of money for that, right? But here you don't have to pay anything. You just build in your daily routine. Make sure you do it every day. Do something every day. And then this stress management. So of course, when people are thinking, "Oh, I'm stressed out. Let me take some Xanax or Ambien, or I cannot sleep." But those are very blunt instruments. They only target the benzodiazepine pathway in our brain. It's very narrow. So we all actually have our own stress reduction mechanism built into us. And there are a lot of these mind-body practices like meditation, mindfulness, breathing exercise. They actually cultivate this ability. This by itself is a topic of the whole talk. But I'll just tell you, they are not some mystical power that you're harnessing. It's really changing how our mind functions, and how when we look at problem or adversity, we have a routine. We have a routine built in through our life since childhood. That may not be the best routine to dealing with the problem. And sometimes you change the way you look at things a little bit differently. You actually can deal with stressors without stress. Stress is our reaction to stressors. Stressors do not necessarily cause stress if you have this skill. So a lot of these mind-body practices is teaching you that skill, focusing on the now and here, in a non-judgmental way. You're more like you're an observer of the problem rather than a participant. So it makes it a little acute to you. So there's a whole system of that. Throughout the human history, these things are nothing new. They've been around for thousands of years because human being has been dealing with this stress since the beginning. And over the years, these are developed. So I suggest you look up, some of these. Here, it can be hard for people who have no experience because if it's just ask you to stay still there for meditating, it's very hard to do. So sometimes that's why yoga comes in, right? You actually have something physical to do. When you do yoga, you're focusing on the physical part, but then your mind stops wandering around, right? You're really focusing on your body, listening to your body. What does my hand, my arm tells me, and how I react to that. So that is like a training your mind to think, get back in touch with your own body. So mind-body practice helps stress reduction a lot. That's something every one of us can get a taste and maybe learn a skill. And then you got this yoga, tai chi. These are what I call the body-mind practice. Because you do something with the body, you actually change your mind. Because they're about mental flexibility. It's not physical flexibility, it's mental flexibility. When you have problems, I'm flexible. I deal with it, but I don't get too stressed. And then we also do acupuncture, which is, the reason I talk about acupuncture is because that's my area of research. I did a lot of clinical trials using acupuncture to treat cancer patients' symptoms. We don't use it to treat cancer per se. I don't think it works that way, but it does change a lot of symptoms: fatigue, nausea, vomiting, hot flushes, joint pain, neuropathy, abdominal bloating, constipation, diarrhea. So acupuncture, think about it as a nerve regulating technique. So when the needle goes in your body, they actually stimulate a whole network of nervous system and change the nerve connections and then change your body's function. So all these therapies we incorporate. The overall goal here is promote a relaxed state. And when you're more relaxed, you can sleep better, right? Because a lot of times people don't sleep well is because they're stressed out or they're in pain. Massage therapy, I just saw 2 patients today with a lot of pain and unable to sleep. And when I touch their shoulder here, it's like 2 pieces of rocks. And when I move my finger, you can actually hear the clicking sounds because they're never aware. They never pay attention to their own body, so they're not aware. They hold so much tension here. And so all I did was I taught the patient some stretching exercise in the clinic. This patient couldn't stand up because he's an elderly gentleman, has a sciatica. The lower, his L4, L5 is a little bit off. So the disc is pressing on the nerve. So this is a real patient this afternoon. And then so I taught him how to do some gentle stretching. There is a whole sequence, right? This way, that way. And then after that, he said, I feel better already because I never treated my body that way. It's always just whatever the body, I'm just always like that. My posture, the way I breathe. So when we do the stretching, also we ask them to breathe deeply inside. So when you do this stretching exercise, you're actually stretching from the inside out. It's not this. It's actually you can do it now, right? Put your arm out. You're stretching the arm, right? Feels good. Now you take a deep breath. All the way in. Did you see you're stretching from the inside, which is different from just stretching the arm out, right? Your whole chest will stretch. And then you put it down. It's like there's something coming down your spine. So all these little things is part of our integrative health. So basically we're incorporating all this manual non-drug therapy. Here is a behavior change. It's a physical, in a way, is a physical therapy, but not in the classic sense. So all of these will change how our body's state of health, and also help prevent disease and help you do better if you do have disease. And another thing is music therapy, because remember I talk about mind, body, spirit, and music speak to our souls in a way no language, no other art or whatever speak. Right? We all have this experience. When we hear a particular piece of music, it just creates a profound feeling, and nothing else will elicit that. That's why if you look at all the religions in the world, they're all tied with music, because it really touches us very deeply in our souls. And again, at UCI, last week, I went to a music and medicine seminar. They actually have Renee Fleming. You know Renee Fleming, the opera singer? She's very interested. She's a singer, but she's very interested in how music and health is tied. And they invited 3 researchers from UCI up there as a panelist explaining the research they do, how music actually can change the nerve system and the biological pathway. And I have another colleague who is a lab scientist. She studies fruit flies, you know the tiny little flies. It's a very good genetic model because it's very easy to breed them and study their genetics. And she told me an interesting story. She said, we actually studied music's effect on fruit flies. Can you imagine? You play music to fruit flies. He said we have 3 groups, right? Randomly assigned, randomized controlled trial, 3 groups. 1 group, background noise, white noise. The second one, classical music. And the third one, heavy metal music. You know what happened to the group of fruit flies who listened to heavy metal music?
They produced more blood?
No, they actually produced fewer eggs. So this is very easily countable, right? They can count how many offspring. So the heavy metal music actually in that experiment reduced the reproductive function of. And so maybe you just heavy metal music is loud, right? You shake the fruit fly too much. They said, no, we control for volume. There's the same volume. It's the rhythm. Because we know biologically in our mind, our heartbeat, everything in the body has a rhythm. Our day-to-day rhythm, second to second rhythm. So when they study the brain wave, there's a certain hertz, certain frequency. So she thinks it's the rhythm and also the pattern of rhythm that actually change something like fruit flies. Fruit flies do not even have a brain. They have a few neurons, but even in that level, music has a profound impact. So I suggest all of us, if you love music, make sure you enjoy it every day. Don't forget. Sometimes we're caught up on daily things we forgot. If you play music, please make sure you make time to play music. If you're not, try to learn to appreciate, because this is a very beautiful part of our life. Make sure you take advantage of that. So you can see this also changed into the positive element of our life, right? You want to introduce beauty, happiness, joy, purpose, meaning, all of that into our life, and make sure we do that every day. So in this particular patient, you can see all of her problem actually started with lifestyles. Once we changed the lifestyle, she got better. Because of the cancer treatment and the hormone therapy, she gained weight. So once we change the diet and get her back to exercise, she lost the weight. When people lose weight, they sleep better. And when they sleep better, they have more energy, right? And so the hot flushes, we did a lot of clinical trial using acupuncture of hot flushes. It works very well. And also it's non-hormonal. You're not giving a breast cancer patient's estrogen, but you treat their hot flushes. Excuse me. So constipation and abdominal bloating, a lot depends on our diet. If you just eat fried food or everything's the same whitish yellow color like you get from the fast food store, of course you're going to have abdominal bloating. Your body was never designed to digest this kind of man-made artificial food, and you're going to have constipation because you don't have enough fiber. So once we change a lot of these things, they usually just get better. And at UCI Health and the Chao Family Comprehensive Center, we actually developed these pathways, a guideline of pathways from the beginning of cancer diagnosis. If cancer patients come to UCI Health, upon diagnosis, we prepare them using this approach, this integrative whole person approach. How do we do that? For people who are newly diagnosed, number one problem, fear, right? They don't know, because most of them were pretty healthy before and never got really sick, and now you have a life-threatening illness. So they're confused, they worry, they fear what happened to them, to their family. And so here, and also they're confused about what's the best treatment. So this is where we pay special attention. We need to make the patient feel heard and seen. You listen here, you listen to patients more than you talk to patients. That's the good medical care, right? You listen to patients more than you talk to patients. And then you learn them as a person, what's important to them, what's their goal in treatment. And then you explain to them in the language they understand what's the best way to get the treatment. And then you prepare their body and their mind for the upcoming treatment. I'm currently doing some research with collaborating with our surgeons. After the diagnosis from a biopsy, from that point to surgery, there may be a couple of weeks. This is where you can improve the nutrition, so later you heal better. You have less infection during the operation. You strengthen your mind, because there are some studies showing, not like animal studies showing, if you stress the mice, the tumor grows faster. If you stress the mice during operation, there are more chance of cancer coming back and metastases. We don't know whether the same thing happened in human or not, because people are so different. The mice are all very similar. But I suspect there is a component of that. So we try to teach these patients how to eat healthy, how to reduce their stress. So they're preparing their body and mind for the upcoming cancer treatment. So you can see there are a lot of these things. I'm not going through the details. You're going to see this on the video. For each step, we have special pathway for these people. And during treatment, after treatment in remission, or you have advanced disease, that you're going through very harsh treatment. So for each problem, we try to find a pathway that is very patient-centered and also non-pharmaceutical, and mobilize the patient's own body to contribute, chip in their treatment. Give them every possible edge in cancer treatment. So when you look at when you see a tree sick, your garden at home, you have a tree in your backyard, so sometimes they got sick. You don't just give them an injection, right, or spray something on them. Sometimes they got sick because they don't have the right amount of water. You either water them too much or too little. Too much sun or too little sun, because some trees thrive in full sun, some not. If you put them in the wrong place, it's bad. And the soil pH. So what you're doing is sometimes you just give them what the tree needs. It will recover and flourish. The same thing happens to human beings. Give what our body, our mind need. And oftentimes we just self-correct, we just heal. Of course, there are times you need outside treatment, like outside help, like cancer. You need to have the main treatment, but you can also mobilize, give what your body needs, so you can do better than just getting the outside treatment alone. So if you give what your body needs And this intrinsic self-writing ability get nurtured and flourish and grow up, and then the tree will turn from something like that to this. We'll have that experience. I at least have that experience, not the tree, because in New York, we don't have trees. We have house plants. So sometimes if you water them the right way and they're not happy, but if you treat them gently and right way, they actually become, you just give them the water, the nutrients, they thrive. I even have a friend said, she has a green thumb, all her plants are thriving. I said, what did you do? She said, I talk to the plants. Initially, I thought it makes no sense. They cannot understand. But does it make sense talking to plants? Do you have this experience when you grow plants? You talk to them. Because I think what happens is when you talk to plant, you love them. You underneath you have a love. You have a relation with the plant, and that love is expressed through how you take care of them. Make sure every day you remember to water them, or you want to watch when the leaves show some sign and you correct them early. So we should talk to our body the same way. How often do we talk to our body? Often not, right? We talk to other people. We don't talk to our body, we don't listen to our body. So listen to our body, talk to our body, and then our body will thrive. So this whole approach is what I call, I like to quote this, if you treat the disease, you may win or you may lose, right? Especially in cancer. We cannot cure everybody. But if you take care of the patient, you always win. Because that's what healthcare is about, the patient, the whole person. Thank you.
Is that on? Yes. Thank you, Dr. Deng. That's very inspirational, isn't it? And nothing costs anything, really. It's all our lifestyle. So it's a great lesson for us. So we'll be taking questions. Before we do that, though, I want to ask Jane in the back to stand up. Jane is going to be retiring. She's been with us since the beginning of Medicine in Our Backyard. And she's just been such a beautiful spirit in supporting us, and I want us all to thank her. And at the same time, Kunga, would you please stand? Kunga is our program director. She is going on leave at the end of November. She'll be here next time, November 17th, because she's going to be welcoming a new son into her family. So let's thank Kunga as well. All right, now if you raise your hands, I will come around and we'll take your questions. Keith, yes.
Hi, Dr. Deng. I have a question. You're only one man. There are many, many cancer patients. So I was looking at the program. So how do you give your expertise to the other people treating cancer patients?
Yeah, so that's a great question. So actually I gave a talk over the weekend to the annual meeting for the Samueli Integrative Health Institute. But there I actually showed the slides. You do that through people. So we build a core team within the Samueli Institute of Integrative Health, and then I made friends throughout the UCI Health system. So I showed a picture with like 40 people. They are clinicians, researchers, and administrators, and I've been here only for 4 months, so I spent the first 2 months just reaching out to people. So they become my friends first, then partner next, then champions last. So because this message resonates with a lot of people, they just don't know how to implement that, and we have the expertise, we have the experience, and we help them. So several oncologists actually come to me and say, well, I want to learn this. I may not learn the whole thing, but give me some basic, especially for the job I do, so I can apply in my own clinic. So reach out to the existing group. I cannot just have hire 100 people, right? But there are 100 people out there already. You just reach out to them. And number two, the younger generation. So I made elective rotation for all the UCI oncology fellows, surgery fellow, radiation oncology fellow, medical oncology, hemonc, gynonc, uronc. And my hope is eventually all the UCI, all the oncology fellows trained at UCI Health know about this approach and at least have a taste and incorporate some of that element in there. So right now it's an elective, but eventually we want to make it like a standard part of their training. So that's how I think it can expand.
I think there's a law of attraction there too. You have so much enthusiasm that your message will be spread just by wanting to be close to you, I think.
Okay.
Thank you. Great talk and common sense approach for sure. Any word on fasting?
Okay, yeah. So again, very patient-centered. Depends on who. So my answer to most question is it depends. So fasting, if for people who are overweight or they have trouble maintaining, is good because they are on the excess. So in biology, there is a sweet spot in the middle. If they're deficient, you bring them up here. If they're excess, you deplete them. So fasting is, for those people, is good. The problem is the modern society. Most of us have the problem of we eat too much. We eat more than the body needs, and we don't consume as much. So in that case, fasting is good. In terms of cancer treatment, there's no direct causal studies, but when they look at breast cancer survivors, those who did so-called overnight fasting, which means they eat an early dinner, they finish dinner, let's say you eat breakfast around 8, you finish dinner by 7 p.m. From 7 p.m. to 8 a.m., no food coming in. You can have some liquid, but no calorie. And when they look back, these people's recurrence risk was about 36% lower than people who eat around the clock. Because you change your metabolism. You change the cellular environment the cells live in. So I think fasting is good because in the modern society, most of us are either normal, overweight, or obese, right? Very few people are underweight. On the other hand, if it's an underweight patient, we don't do fasting. We actually give them a high energy, high calorie diet, and we design a plan, not only what they eat, how you eat, not only what you eat, how you do to the rest of your body, so your body actually can process and absorb those nutrients. You get the GI tract moving, so all these. So the short answer is it depends. The longer answer is for most people, in the modern society, we eat a little bit too much than we need.
Next question. Over here. Okay.
Thank you. Why do you think that Western medicine doesn't cover natural medicine and doesn't do more clinical trials on it? For instance, at Susan Samuel, I think probably 99% of their services are covered by cash, and insurance does not cover them.
Yeah. So the Western medicine actually used to cover natural medicine a lot. Right? Think about the whole field of naturopathy developing in Europe. And actually, I have collaborated in Europe. I go there a lot. It's in their culture, in their tradition. Only in the last 100 years or so, it changed because now we know so much about anatomy and the molecular. So we're very we just look really under the microscope. Look at everything under the microscope. And sometimes we lose the whole sight. And so this is what we're doing, trying to change that. We show them, because it's both science-based, but even people say, oh, this is not science. But now there are a lot of scientific evidence, as I mentioned earlier, it shows this actually do make sense. I think given time, I've been doing this for 20 years. When I started 20 years ago, the whole landscape environment is very different, right? We're really outliers. Now we're mainstream. UCI is getting this, the other is getting it. Almost every medical center has a component of integrative health. So that's the first thing, is to get credibility, establish that through scientific evidence. Then the next step is to demonstrate, as you said, economic benefit, so that the insurance would know if you take this approach to health, at the end of the year, you actually save money because people are healthier. And at the societal level, it's probably going to lower the healthcare costs. We're working on demonstrating that. We know in our practice we do that. So once we have demonstrated that, there are better chance for insurance to cover. One example is acupuncture. When we started 20 years ago, acupuncture, nobody covers acupuncture, right? It's all out of pocket. But because of the clinical trials done in 2020, Medicare started to cover acupuncture for lower back pain because they found treating lower back pain costs them a lot more money than giving them acupuncture. And then they don't have to have they don't have the problem anymore. So I think that's one good example. I hope eventually a lot of insurance companies will cover more and more. That's actually, I take it as my job to do that, to demonstrate that.
Why do you think that most Western doctors do not study any alternative medicine?
I think there are multiple factors. One is it has not been in part of the medical textbook or curriculum, and that's again another thing we want to change. Right? Remember, I said I want all the fellows here to study this. And the second is historically, this is a fuzzy science, right? It's just historically people are doing this. They may work, it makes sense. But now we are down to molecular mechanism, like the acupuncture trial I'm currently doing in sepsis patients. We actually know which nerves pathway is activated, which organ, which inflammatory cytokine is suppressed. So once you delineate that, it will be part of the medical textbook, and then everyone would know. So it's an ongoing work, and I feel fortunate that UCI gave me this platform to actually do these things that I love doing.
Thank you. Oh, here we go.
I would think that there might be a possibility that your patients could seek out these classes on their own if they realize the importance toward their overall health. And I think a lot of us are starting to realize now that our lifestyle could be enhanced without going to a doctor and having him tell us that. But getting access to maybe a day training, say in stress management, or even the principles of good sleep that you talked about. And I know there's a lot more, keeping the room dark, keeping the room cold, all of this business. Perhaps some of those could be combined. About 4 years ago, I went to a class, and it must have been it wasn't an on-campus class, but it was through UCI on meditation, and it was absolutely fantastic. And the last class was a full Saturday where we just meditated like crazy all day, all over campus. It was wonderful. And I would like to take that again. I mean, if it was available, or some of these other components. So perhaps letting your patients know that you had these classes available would be economically beneficial to UCI and beneficial to us to keep healthy before we had to go to see you as a doctor. So maybe it could be packaged so we could get that too. Right now it's just in books.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea, and I totally agree. UCI do have these classes. Maybe we didn't do a good job in promoting them or let people know. For example, every Tuesday and Monday afternoon, there's a Tai Chi class outdoor, right at the door, right on the patio near the building. And it's taught by a retired UCI professor who studied physiology. He's retired, but he's a very good teacher. So they are there. I just think we should do a better job promoting it to the community. So a lot of people don't know about this.
Okay, one more question here.
Hello, Dr. Deng. Do you have any tips for finding a good acupuncturist who can handle post-treatment side effects?
The best way is to find acupuncturists who treated someone you know, or your friends or colleagues who had great results from that person, and rave about it. because it's very difficult to have a standardized test, right? So it's usually just first-hand knowledge of someone who is very good. I think that's the most practical advice.
What? Oh, here, one more.
I'm going to bounce back to the pillar on nutrition, and you did a great job on the overview of healthy foods, portion control, time of day. What about food combinations and or specific foods that are, I once heard that cilantro tea was the magic, whatever I do, just drink cilantro tea. Is there another category maybe in your book that's going to talk about combinations or specific foods?
You mean the combination to promote health or to promote flavor?
Well, that you also touched on. I'd be interested to read that part. The combination to promote health.
Okay, yeah. So this is, it's not a, there's no simple answer to that, right? So it's very specific. For example, tomato. There is something called lycopene in tomato. And the only way your body will absorb it is in the presence of fat. So you need olive oil, you got tomato there and stir it, slow cook it for like half an hour. Then the lycopene goes into this lipid bubble in the fat and then you'll get absorbed. If you just eat a raw tomato in a salad, you actually don't absorb the lycopene. So that's a combination. A lot of spice promote absorption of these nutrients. And another example, I'm actually doing a study on curcumin and turmeric, right? So there are all these products on the market. Which one is good? Which one is... There are actually people study this. There are like dozens of papers published. They give people different dosage and different formulations and see which one you absorb the most. Surprisingly, we found the best one, if you look at the data, the way you take turmeric or curcumin that give you the highest blood concentration is the oldest method, which is mix it with milk or soy milk or oat milk and shake it really hard. Like a blender, right? There are people doing this. They have turmeric powder with milk and blender. And because in the blending process, the curcumin goes into the lipid bubble. Your milk's really just bubble of lipids, fat bubble. And then they got absorbed very fast. That oftentimes is like dozens of times higher absorption than taking a regular pill. So there are these nuances, but there's not one universal answer. It all depends on the specifics.
Is your book available on Amazon?
Yeah, it's you can just Google my name, Gary Deng book, and then you'll see it on Amazon. Oh, by the way, today actually I showed a patient there. When I look it up, I said, well, maybe you should look it up here now. It says only one left in stock. I need to talk to the publisher. Is that true or not? Let me just check now to see whether that's...
Oh, well, thank you. This has been just... Huh?
Oh, for the, yeah.
This has been wonderful. You're such an inspiration to us. Our next meeting will be November 17th. We'll have Dr. Brown talking to us about macular degeneration. So we'd love to see you here. And thank you so much for coming.
My pleasure. Thanks, everyone.